All right, now, well, this was not as easy as I thought. Probably can't see that, no bother showing it. So I thought maybe I'll come up with, do a video like, what is my favorite Phish song? And then, I was like, well, that's going to be nearly impossible. Throughout the years, I have had some songs where I get on these big kicks, and I think that's like my favorite song. I think maybe Squirming Coil, Colonel Forbin, Fluffhead, Carini, Melt, YEM. At some point in time, those were always, one of them was my favorite song, probably. I probably maybe could have said it easily, or I could have narrowed it down to 2 or 3. And then as time passes, those songs, some of those songs, maybe not what they were in the late 90s, 2003, 2004. And so I was able to fairly easily narrow it down to 25 songs. And then from those 25 songs, I took it down to 18 songs. And then it got a little dicey at 18, but I was able to get it down to 16. Then it got really dicey. There were some heartbreaking decisions to get it down to 13. And then once I got to 13, this is where I'm stuck. I don't know if you can see that there. We got Ghost and Light. And then the rest, man, 1 through 11, it is just tough. Like Carini, Melt, Sand, Wolfman's. I got Ghost, Back on the Train, Free, Gin, Slave, Lizards, Piper, YEM. It's just tough to, like, what am I going to say? YEM is my 11th favorite song? That's hard to say, man. Lizards, Slave, Wolfman, Sand. And then part of this factors in, just do I like the song, yes or no. So these are all obvious yeses, no matter the situation. And then, like, maybe historically, and then more leaning towards the sort of recent 2003 and now. Like, I kind of got rid of Coil and Colonel Forbin fairly easily, just because they, they're just not what they were at the time. Colonel Forbin, man, they're Mockingbird. They're almost never going to play those songs. They do very rarely, but we still get them. They're not completely shelved and retired. And Squirming Coil, it's rare. I still really love it whenever they play it, but somehow I was able to easily. Sense and Subtle Sounds was on the list early on. That was in the original 25, which even surprised me. Can't believe Sense and Subtle Sounds was one of my 25 favorite songs. So then, I don't know where, like I was saying, a Free, Gin. It's hard to put a number. So like 1 through 11, I'm like, are they all just tied? Do I have 11 favorite songs? So I was like, maybe now. As I'm thinking here, like, but not Back on the Train, Free, Gin. I'm like, I guess I would put Gin above Back on the Train and Free, but it almost feels like that's somehow a knock on Back on the Train or Free. And the same thing with Wolfman. It's like maybe I could put Melt above Wolfman's or YEM above Melt. Piper, perhaps Piper might beat them all, although Piper more recently, that maybe its history was made early, and then 2003. But then, 2014 through now, Piper's maybe not so hot. Slave to the Traffic Light. I feel like not a lot of these are controversial. I mean, the only one that I'm like, maybe I could slap a number 1 next to Slave. But then Slave, as much as I love it, I'm like, does it really deserve number 1? I mean, it is a little bit one-dimensional, It's mostly going to be near the end of a set. Sometimes, it's rarely that it's going to be like the second song in the second set and it's going to turn into some 22-minute jam vehicle. So it's hard to put Slave number 1 there just because of that reason. And the same thing with YEM, although recently, right after the vocal jam, we got a bit of an extended jam. And then there's always room for Trey or Mike or Paige to kind of open it up in YEM. But I don't know if I can put I mean, there's times they'll do like a 3 or 4 night run places and YEM somehow doesn't make the cut. Same thing with songs like Split Open and Melt. And then we got the ones that maybe they like Sand. We just got that big monster Sand. But Sand is one of the ones that normally, like Back on the Train, Bathtub Gin, a lot of times they're going to stay type 1. But then, then you got songs like Piper, Light, almost always going to be type 2. Ghost, I feel like I would favor that a little more. So it is really difficult to come up with 1 through 11. Maybe. Just hypothetically for this day, I mean, this would always change. I mean, Piper, Slave, 1 and 2, but nah, man, it just got so many other songs. How could I put Piper above Carini? Or Tweezer actually was off the list pretty early somehow. I don't know how. Honestly, I don't know. I've tried to not factor in what other fans think. Mercury was in the top 25. Seven Below was in the top 25. So I tried to make this as like not factor in what other people think at all. I mean, Rogae almost got in there. This was 2017. I would tell you Rogae is one of their 10 best songs. But it's a bit of a long hauler. Post-COVID, there's a few songs. Then there's a song or two in here, luckily, They were able to make a little bit of a comeback, but Back on the Train, Theme from the Bottom got whacked. You know? I don't know. I can't put any... Maybe let's try to come up with a number 11 since we can't come up with a number 1. How about at number 11 we go... Free, I guess. You know, I'll put Free at number 11. I feel comfortable with that. Now at 10, maybe Lizards. I could blame Lizards being a little one-dimensional, and it's not usually there. Although I have gotten Lizards plenty of times. See, but that just seems, man, that don't seem right. Lizards is the 10th best song. Man, that says a lot about them. 9, Back on the Train. Just because, while it's got a long history, it is a rocker. It mostly stays type 1. Along with Sand, although that's Sand recently, man, kind of takes it out of that category. How about Carini at 8? Although at one time I was a Carini, seriously devoted to Carini, spreading the word. Now we're down to like, we got Melt, Sand, Wolfman's, Gin. See, maybe Wolfman's at 7. Sometimes the telephone ring is a little weak. That's keeping it out of the top 5. Now we got Melt, Sand, Gin, Slave, Piper, YEM. Piper, Gin. How about Melt? Melt at number 6. Okay, this is we're getting there, people. 5. We got Sand and YEM. We got Gin. We got Slave. I'm putting Slave at 5 just because, unfortunately, as much as I love Slave, and it is one of my very favorite songs. Now we're into these top 5. These could all just kind of be tied for number 1. 1 through 5 are basically a tie. So we got Slave at 5. Sand at 4. Gin at 3. So now we're down to... We're down to Piper and YEM. Wow, man. I can't say which one of those songs I like more. I mean, there's obviously things about Piper. I mean, I'll tell you what. Maybe I can't believe I'm going to say Piper's my favorite song ever. See, that's unbelievable, man. That don't seem right. But then the thing with YEM, the one thing about YEM, Piper, welcome anytime, anywhere. Opening song, middle of the first set, closing a set, same deal, second set, encore it. Well, that'd be a little disappointing if we got a 5-minute Piper encore. I would riot. I would. If I was even there. Might have walked out on it. 33 shows, might have walked out on 19 encores. The older I get, the more likely I was to bounce on an encore. Although, man, hey, man, 2004, I was early in the game. Saw some poor kid get beat up in 04 leaving early. I'm glad I wasn't that kid. I got to put Piper at 2. Just because, man. Every now and then Piper is a bit of a dud. Well, then YEM, man. There's times it's been unfinished. There's times they've skipped sections. There was at least a time they stopped and started over. It had, maybe just, see, now here I said I was kind of had a recency bias, but YEM seems to be the one song that's appropriate to put at number 1. Maybe Slave, maybe Gin. I don't know. So that's 1 through, okay, we got an official 1 through 13. I'm sorry, we're 9 minutes into this video. YEM at 1. Piper and Gin, 2 and 3, respectively. Sand at 4. Slave at 5. Melt, Wolfman's Carini, 6, 7, and 8. Cracking the top 10, the number 9 song in the world by Fish, Back on the Train. Lizards at 10, Free at 11, Light at 12, Ghost at 13. That's it. Ghost is my 13th favorite song by Fish. Now, if they played every one of those songs in a show, if Fish ever wants to end me, they're like, let's take that guy out once and for all. Play that as the show, Slave as the encore. Boom. I know it's like 2 sets with like 6 songs each, but it would be hard to fit in more than that if you played all of those. Alright, guys, that's it. You enjoy myself. Number 1. Boom. Thanks for watching. Hope you made it this far. And if I make this same video a month from now, it'll be a totally different list.